All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Let's get into this video.
Not racist. No, I'm not racist. I just don't like him. Simple as. But it's not that simple, is it? This is a map of all the countries that Great Britain have invaded. It is 90% of all countries on Earth. Dehumanizing people is so ingrained in our culture. It's been a tactic that we've used for centuries because we couldn't have invaded these countries if we didn't see these people as not human. To dehumanize someone is to see them as other or less than. Abuse, control, and violence become justified when you don't see people, society's culture as human and no longer a person with feelings, history, dignity. They're a target, a stereotype, and a thing to control. Seeking asylum is a fundamental human right and a legal process under international law. So that means anyone who turns up in our country seeking asylum, they have a fundamental right to apply to seek asylum here. But when suffering people of these countries, still to this day that our country bombs and destroys, flee the destruction that we helped create, we tell them that we'd rather them die than seek safety in this country. These asylum seekers or refugees aren't even wanting revenge for what we've done to them and their livelihoods and their families and their land. They literally just want safety and human rights. When people speak about immigration, it is so rare that they speak about people immigrating from America, New Zealand, Australia, because they're white. There's this clever thing called scapegoating, where a group of people get blamed for the wrongdoings of a bunch of other people. This has been a neat little trick for our government because it's been proved to work. Because for some reason, a lot of people in this country genuinely believe the reason that you have to wait 3 weeks for an NHS appointment is a housing crisis and strain on public services. There's no well-paying jobs and taxes are higher than ever. You have no sense of community, you're lonely, you're depressed. It's because of immigrants. If you believe those things, then you've fallen victim to believing scapegoating. What they won't tell you is the actual reason for a cost of living crisis and the breakdown of essential services is not because of immigrants, but because the UK government since the 70s have been selling off public services to private firms, moving the wealth and power from the public to the billionaires. This leaves us all poorer with worse standards of living and poorer services because the rich people now owning these public services don't care about the general well-being of the public because it's not profitable. Also, 70% of the land owned in Britain is owned by billionaires. There are over 1 million empty homes in England, and yet tax for workers are at an all-time high. Zara Sultana said that the enemy of the working class travels by private jet, not migrant dinghy. And I have to agree with her. No, I'm not.
Right, so you have the so-called white woman breaking it down, right? So as we know UK, Europe has been complaining about immigration for a really long time now. And a lot of the people in the UK are starting to blame the reason why UK is so bad is because of immigrants, or they're trying to say that the reason the UK is bad is because of black people or immigrants or, other things. But they yet to say why the immigrants are coming over, right? If their country's being bombed, if another country's being bombed by Britain, of course they're going to migrate to some place that's not being bombed, right? But a lot of people in the UK, Esau Edom especially, doesn't understand that because he's wicked to a point that he can't even see reason. And of course, as this white woman was saying, is the reason why things are so bad when it comes to health care, labor shortage, food, food costs, cost of living, and wage, right, is because of these billionaires that rule in office in government, right? Because these billionaires sell out your public things for it to be privatized. These billionaires make it so that these public services that was good for you is private for them, right? So now these people, so-called middle class and lower, or between that range, is dealing with the fallout of what these billionaires are doing, because these billionaires, of course, Esau Edom's in power, doesn't care at all about his citizens, right? Let's get out of scripture. If he is not good to himself, right? Ecclesiasticus chapter 14 verse 5. Ecclesiasticus chapter 14 verse 5. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods, right? So you have Esau Edom, who is not even good to himself, who is not even good to his own people. You got his people losing homes, right? Dying non-stop in, I want to say, hospitals, or just because they can't afford stuff, right? In America, healthcare isn't free. So you have some people that don't want to even go get healthcare because it's too expensive. So we're in a place now where, as Israelites, we're trying to live off, not trying, but we're doing our best to live off of the things that Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai has meant for us, like herbs, natural food, and to stay away from these poison things like processed and ultra-processed foods, right? And to make sure we're getting exercise, that we work out, right? So that we don't have to face with Esau's wicked system of being faced with a medical bill from a hospital that charges too much, that charges even 20 grand to even hold your baby, right? So let's get on our scripture here. It says in Proverbs chapter 29 verse 2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear the rule, the people mourn. And right, everyone of the earth is mourning. You got the Edomites especially mourning, because as Israelites, we've been through this, what's it called? We've been through a lot of hardship in America. We've been through redlining, we've been through gentrification, we've been through Jim Crow laws, right? We've been through unequal unemployment just because of our name, just because of our complexion. So we're used to this. But Esau, on the other hand, isn't used to being treated as how Jake was treated back then. They're not used to not getting a job just because they're white, right? Esau used to get a job just because they're white. Now they can't even get a job even if they are white, right? They're not used to being paid top dollar just for being white, right? They're not used to working jobs they don't want to work, right? They're not used to trying to live off minimum wage that doesn't even pay minimum wage to live, right? So Esau is starting to feel these curses that was upon Jake. And now these curses are starting to transfer upon Esau Edom. And Esau Edom is starting to feel the effects of what he's done, not only to Jacob, but to other nations around the world. That's why when that white woman showed the map of all the countries Great Britain invaded, it seemed like Great Britain invaded the whole world just about. So you had the border of wickedness, Esau Edom, not minding his business, but steal, to kill, and destroy. Right? So, brethren, we're almost here. We're almost, of course, Esau Edom is going to constantly scapegoat and blame the so-called black man for all their problems, because they're not, because of their perpetual hatred, that they won't ever point out the billionaires who are causing the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to come a point where they should not regard their government or right? But that's a little bit away, but not far away. So I hope this lesson is edifying. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. I hope this lesson is edifying to the elect and the hopeful elect. Thank you to elders and positive brethren, help teach Jesus truth, and shalom.